So I guess start with a little bit of background. Tell me a little bit about yourself and how you came to found, I guess, Viewst.com.
Yeah, sure. So, like, to make a long story short, that was kind of an accident. I used to, as I mentioned before, I used to be a professional tennis player when I was a kid, but I've never given up, studying, even while traveling a lot. And when I decided to quit professional tennis, it was a hard choice for me, as when you put a lot of attention, a lot of effort to, and kind of have a dream. But I'm really grateful for the advice from my parents, and they told me that actually, there are just, I don't know, 20, 50 people who are very successful in say playing tennis, and there are like thousands and hundreds of thousands of people who are successful in, I don't know, like science, like investment banking, whatever. So and
Yeah.
actually another piece of advice, you'll be laughing, by actually Michael Jordan. When I was a kid, they actually published a film. I don't remember how, like, the title, but that was a documentary film about Michael, and like he was telling his story. And back then he was visiting a lot of high schools and talking to kids and saying exactly the same thing, like, guys, use your sport victories as a chance to get to a great high school, to get like some invitation,
Education.
yeah, education. But don't dream about like being just NBA player, because there are, I don't know, 300 of them, that's it.
Yeah.
And so I remember this. I was, I think, 12 when I first seen the movie. And yeah, so when I quit tennis, I got a master's degree in physics and mathematics. I was studying in mathematician gymnasium, and yeah, that actually, I fell in love with science. And I got an invitation for a PhD program to one of the best universities in the United States, but accidentally, everything in my life was by accident. I actually joined a hedge fund. I don't know, for some reason.
Accidentally.
I mean, for some reason, investment bankers, they hire a lot of graduates from like technical departments, like scientists, like, I don't know, applied math, physics, chemistry. Yeah, so, and back then I was waiting for the invitation for the papers, to join to this PhD program, because I was dreaming of it as well. But spending several months at trading desk, and when I got the invite, I was like, you know what, it sounds and it feels so exciting. I mean, like, trading. And my bosses, they actually started to invite me to investment committees where they analyzed different classes of assets. And I was by far, I guess, the youngest and the only girl, actually. So I mean,
Okay.
like, everything was so exciting, and that was really interesting, so it wasn't a gambling at all. It was a hedge fund, and we had like very complex investment strategies, different classes of assets. And yeah, I fell in love with this. And so I decided, okay, I'm going to stay and do this job. And actually, I've done this for nearly 10 years. So I
Wow.
worked in a hedge fund, I've worked in brokerage, and I've done different, so I had different positions, like analytical and trading and portfolio management. And when I turned like 30 years old, I've realized that I burned out, actually. And I realized, yeah, that I want to create something, like, to create a value, not just trading, I don't know, air.
Mm. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think I get that.
and anyway, investment banking is a very aggressive environment. It's mostly, yeah, still men's world, and it's really aggressive, especially when it relates to bonuses and big
Mm.
money. And I was exhausted, and I just decided to quit. And I was thinking to maybe apply for MBA program, just try to change the course of my career. And I met a guy. He is an engineer. He's a very talented engineer, and he told me, "Okay, listen, you know a lot about money, and I'm building a startup. Would you please help me to raise funds?" I was like, "Okay," and actually he pitched me his idea, and frankly speaking, back then it was roughly 6 years ago. I knew nothing about venture, because I was trading public assets, and frankly speaking, I knew nothing about the internet. So okay, I read news online as everybody did. I used social networks like Facebook. I
Mm.
think not, maybe, yeah, maybe already a little bit of Instagram back then, but I knew not like I knew nothing about internet and startups. So it took me nearly, I would say roughly 1 year to get kind of deep knowledge about the
Mm.
industry, what is venture, how to raise funds, what are startups all about. And yeah, actually after 1 year we raised funds, and
It's nice.
it took me roughly 2 weeks. So I was lucky in a way, because since then I've raised several times, and every time it's a pain, to be honest. So yeah, I would say it took me like 11 months to learn everything what I could about the whole thing, and then like couple of weeks of meetings, and raising first round of investments. And when I did it, he invited me to join the startup as a CEO. And I accepted this offer. It was so exciting, but again, I couldn't even imagine what I'm signing up to. So I was like, oh, cool, now I have 30% of the company. That's great. Uh, but it turned out that after several months he actually lost his interest in the whole thing, because it was 2017, and blockchain was booming, and actually
Mhm.
he launched a new startup. He launched uh, he launched actually a new company. He launched a new blockchain, which is still, I think, in operations, and there are a bunch of different projects who migrated to this blockchain. And he was among the probably first, I don't know, 20 companies who has done ICO.
Mhm.
But and it was also very tempting, and he asked me to join. But I was thinking, okay, I'm responsible in front of my team, and I'm responsible in front of my investors, and I cannot just quit and do something else. I
Mm.
mean, I think this is probably a, like, girlish thing. I think boys are different. Okay, this is more exciting. Let's go do this.
Yeah.
What I see when I'm talking and when I'm like communicating with male founders. They're
Mhm.
totally different. But I decided, to pursue this first project. I joined, and the project itself was in advertising. It was an ad tech company, and I spent nearly 3 years working in it before I found, actually much bigger market pain in this industry. And that's how I actually launched Viewst, and already by myself. So I'm a solo
Mhm.
founder.
All right. Yeah, because I saw you have some sort of a science and then corporate background, and I was like, how did you get into ads? That's more creative, and yeah. So I understand better now.
It's a fake,
Yeah. It's a face. Yeah. How did you come up with the name?
Okay, yeah, that's an interesting thing. I was reading a book by Phil Knight, A Shoe Dog, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Nike.
And,
Yeah.
I remember especially, this chapter about how they actually ended up with Swoosh and, the name of the project and the name of the company. And actually back then I was based, I was a part of a boot camp in New York where I met a girl and she was working on like branding and everything. So, and we started just to brainstorm on the idea of a new project.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, which was like, okay, the first project was about new kind of mobile rich media ads. So we
Mm-hmm.
were creating, we called it like floating ad units, which appeared on top as an overlay on different websites and applications, and you can actually
Mm-hmm.
uh, move it around the screen. And it wasn't obtrusive, but it was very cool and attracted a lot of attention. And so like new kind of rich media ads. And I was still working on that idea, and we started to brainstorm with her about like, okay, it's what is the major feature of this, rich media ad? It was always viewable, like viewability. And back
Mm-hmm.
then it was a big challenge for a lot of advertisers because they were talking a lot about fraud, about banners blindness and these kind of things. And I was thinking about, okay, viewability, and actually Viewst is viewable super tool.
All
Uh,
right. Okay.
but
Yeah.
but then, so I was playing around, these words, and then I was thinking, okay, it should be, since Phil Knight was telling about, okay, it should be kind of short, and how to say, like, I was thinking about like Google, Yahoo, this
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
short, and I don't know, like the sound is, I don't even know how to describe it. So I was
You
thinking
said
about,
the swoosh, and it sounds like swoosh actually. It's like Viewst.
yeah,
Is that one
yeah. So
breath
I was,
kind of a
no, it
name?
was always on the top of my head, and I was like playing with it. And then there is another thing. Okay, first you have, like the idea describing the major features of your solution, for instance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or the major pain points you're trying to solve with this solution. So this is one thing. Then I actually wrote a big list of different synonyms, playing around this topic. Then there is another big thing. Okay, sometimes like tweet, right? So
Mm.
it's not exact word, but it sounds
Mm-hmm.
like a word. So you start to
Mm-hmm.
play with, you start playing this game. Okay, maybe viewability, but the spelling is different. And then
Mm-hmm.
there is much bigger challenge to find a free domain name.
Mm-hmm.
This is a big one. And to be honest, Viewst was actually wasn't free. And usually you pay, I don't know, $100 per name, right? Per domain name. In my case, it was like, I think 2,500.
Mm.
And I didn't have money as a startup founder, but they allowed me to pay in installments, like I think 12 installments. So
Mm-hmm.
I could afford this. But so basically I was playing with these three things, like pain points, synonyms, like spelling and sound, and then domain name.
Mm-hmm. No, you did a very smart thing. I think a lot of people, well, I can go on and on about mistakes that people do when naming, but a lot of people overlook one of those things that you mentioned, and it's a mistake. Like you said, it makes a lot more sense to go what makes sense, what completes all your criteria, and get the matching domain name, because otherwise you're just rendering all of your marketing less effective. That's the case.
Yeah, exactly. And I probably, I was like in a way since like right after this first boot camp, I participated in a different one, which was especially like creative kind of boot camp. And I was working in a team with several people who are like copywriters, and the whole idea of this boot camp, so they invited startup founders on one hand, and on the other hand they invited like copywriters, designers, like
Mm-hmm.
creators, and founders were paying for the whole thing. And then, as far as I remember, it was like 3-day boot camp, and we had like 5 teams, and at the end we were pitching, and the winner got some money. But for me, so we didn't win, and I came there with a completely different project, just to use this opportunity and to
Mm-hmm.
be inside this process. So I've learned a lot, how like copywriter, how designer, how this smart and professional people were working. And so basically it taught me a lot.
Mm. No, you sound like you keep talking about boot camps and courses and books, and you've changed already so many different activities. It like you sound super busy, but it seems very interesting and exciting. It's like I'm almost thinking, okay, what's going to be the next thing now that she's going to do?
So now I'm dreaming about like building a unicorn, but not in a sense that, I want to become famous and successful. No,
Mm,
I'm now, like when you found the real market pain, and like you see like how people in the industry suffer, make it more efficient. It's just a crazy thing. You want to bring this solution to as many people as possible because you see the real value.
mm,
And finally, I feel like I found like this sweet spot where I want to be and what I want to
mm.
do. And frankly speaking, yeah, like building a startup is a tough one, but I'm enjoying.
Yeah, it is a rewarding experience. Definitely a
Yeah.
tough one, but it is rewarding. I can totally relate to that. And we've been talking about like how you got to it and the name, and we actually totally missed, or I missed to ask you, what does Viewst do actually? What do
Yeah,
you do?
the initial idea was to build, okay, let's call it like Bennis factory. So when I was thinking about this idea, actually that was the time when Canva has started to boom. So Canva,
Mhm.
what is Canva? I believe
Oh
you
yeah,
do.
yeah, we're using
So,
it. Yeah.
so yes, they added a feature to create a banner for social media like Instagram and Facebook. And
Mhm.
I guess like 17, 18, these were the years when all these influences, started to actually to boom as well. And it became extremely, popular, and it became like a real new niche
Mhm.
for young professionals to make money. And I was working with like big agencies and big brands uh, in 8 countries back then, including like United States, Canada, and also like African and European countries. And I remember, I was listening to Sebastian Tomic, who is still back then and still is the head of global advertising at New York Times, and he was telling about the big market pain. So in the industry, there are a lot of data, right? And brands obtain
Mm.
a lot of data, but they don't leverage it.
Mhm.
And they have channels to deliver very personalized ads. But the biggest problem is actually production, because it's still manual. You have a lot of
Mm.
design, you have creative agencies. On one hand, on the other hand, you have a lot of data, so you ideally want to create not like 5 messages, 5 copies,
Mhm.
but and 5 designs, but you ideally want to create, I don't know, 500,000 designs and copies,
Mhm.
right? And then there are different channels, and like, I don't know, like Facebook, Instagram, Google, And all these
Mm.
channels, many more, and all these channels, they have different technical requirements. So it's not the same
Mm-hmm.
image, different
Mm-hmm.
sizes, different, like technical requirements, and it's still manual. So everything else in the industry is automated, but production is still manual. And so we started to think, okay, we probably need to think about something like Canva, but for ads in general, because Canva is for designs, any kind of
Mm-hmm.
design, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
text, I don't know, images and cards and whatever. And we should create kind of Canva, but specifically for ads. And then I think after several months, Figma started to boom. And Figma actually solved another big problem. Figma brought together designers and developers. And
Mm-hmm.
now developers could see like the UI UX components in real time, ask question in the
Mm.
same canvas, and like brought together two completely separate group of professionals. And we started to think, okay, uh, actually ads is about creative people and media buying.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how we thought, okay, maybe we should create something which is kind of an overlap between Canva and Figma, but for digital ads.
Mm.
And then our idea evolved from simply like Banner's Factory, like, you know, a
Mm-hmm.
tool that you can quickly create from scratch and edit. We added kind of, features related to project management when creative and
Mm-hmm.
media people meeting together in the same team in the same project on a canvas and can comment in real time and share this projects and streamline directly to their ad accounts without need to
Mm.
download upload. So I would say, so some users still call us like Figma for digital ads or Canva for digital ads. We are basically bringing together designers and marketers and help them uh, scale versioning, streamline approvals, and to solve, I would say, the biggest problem, go live faster. Because
Mm.
currently they face with lots of delays in campaign launch.
Yeah, that as you were speaking, I had like flashbacks because I was doing programming like some ages ago. I would say 15 years ago, and then I had an IT company before I completely got out of that and got more into the marketing side. But like as you were saying, there's the designers, the programmers, and I had flashbacks of those horrible moments where like you would spend, hours with the designers in one room and talk about how amazing that is, and you go out so excited and it's like brilliant, and you go to the programmers like they're like no 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 no, there's just no chance, that is not going to happen, not at that budget, not that time, not that. And it's like, oh Jesus, okay, we're back to zero. So yeah, and then you throw into the mix also, like you said, the other side, the buying, advertising, and all of that management. So yeah, I can totally see the value in connecting all that in the speed that would add to the process. Yeah. Right. I think we have you there. We have some delay in the connection, I think.
I can hear you very well.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I had some delay. There was hanging. I just came back from holiday and I had months of traveling and bad internet. So I think as soon as like there's a moment of silence, I'm like, oh no, the internet is breaking in. It's okay.
Where are you
What
based,
was?
by the way?
I'm
Sorry.
in France. Yeah, that's okay. I'm in France at the
Ah,
moment.
you in France? Me too. Where
Really?
exactly?
Oh, I'm in
Yes.
Nice. You're gonna be like,
Wow.
hey, where
Yeah.
are you in France?
Wow. I've just spent like several weeks in Cannes
Oh,
visiting my friend.
really?
Yeah, but I'm in Paris. I thought
Nice.
you were in States. Funny.
No, no, no. I'm in Nice. We've been traveling over the summer. We were in the Alps. The last place we were was in the Alps, and we came back Friday, I think. Yeah, a few days ago.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe you have a chance like to meet in person one day.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely. Let me know if you're around. I mean, Cannes is not far from here, but yeah, I'll also go to my husband is from Paris, so we visit sometimes as well. Yeah, nice. All right. I'm not gonna try to not take much more of your time. If you, I guess what are you, because you have those different backgrounds and experiences, and you've been talking to a lot of founders and VCs as well, and what would you say are the biggest mistakes entrepreneurs make when it comes to generally startups, and in more particular in branding and naming?
Oh,
Loaded question, sorry.
yeah, that's a hard question because, okay, Viewst is my second attempt, to build a startup. To be honest, I was working on the first project. I've
Hello. Yeah, I
all,
think connection.
yeah, you lost me. I can hear you.
You're
So
back. You're back.
yeah, so like as I mentioned, this is my second startup, and while working the first one, I've done all possible mistakes related to to everything, to operations, to branding, to sales, to literally everything. And it's difficult. I think you know probably it's a good idea to join kind of a creative boot camp to work with professionals. I know that for a startup, cash is the king, and it's never enough money, and it's very difficult to find resources to invest into branding. But it's on the other hand, it's very important. There is a saying like how you call the boat, right?
Mm,
Something like that.
mm-hmm,
That's how it sails.
mm-hmm,
So yeah, maybe there is in the place where you are, but after the COVID, there were a lot of online kind of boot camps and programs, and I would suggest to join and to learn from professionals. What are the most important things to work on? Because again, for instance, Viewst became viral in Japan.
mm-hmm,
I've never thought of going to this, market, because it's completely different in terms of business culture and everything.
mm-hmm.
But it became viral just because of our identity, because of our name and logo. And
Wow,
yeah, that was
that's fascinating.
yeah, that was the fascinating spirit for our team. So that's why it is very important. And we have a logo chameleon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And when I was thinking about it, so on one hand, many advisors keep saying like, okay, you work with corporations, with like enterprises, you need to be more serious.
Mm-hmm.
But I still kind of resist it. I say, okay, they are also people.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I love the story of MailChimp. So
Mm-hmm.
I've read this book, how they created this character, and basically this character was was a force for them, to become
Mm,
viral. And
absolutely.
this is also a good example. So I think there is no secret sauce. It's just, read more and join some programs where you can learn from professionals who
I guess, yeah.
navigate you, about this story, about this branding story.
Sure. And I guess to an extent, there's always like there's a number of mistakes that you just have to make yourself to
Exactly.
get over them and to learn. So there's no other way around that as well. And
Yeah,
that's
and
not, yeah.
yeah. So I think that you're totally right, and you don't have to be afraid of making these mistakes. It's your game, it's your rules, and you can always change them. So okay, if
Mm,
you start a project and you feel that something doesn't work, just pivot, just
mm,
work and create something different. I don't know, naming, logo, whatever.
mm. Yeah. I think that was my husband, that was yesterday, and he said he'll send it to me. He came across some article about some like very old brands like Nokia and Siemens and whatever, and even older, and what they launched as, what they were doing. And there were some like crazy things that you wouldn't expect at all, like the toilet paper or I don't know, pens or
Yeah,
whatever. Like it's like what they were doing, what?
yeah,
But yeah, I
yeah.
mean,
No, I
you
yeah,
don't create a brand that lasts over centuries without changing. That's a given.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Last question, I promise. What's next for Viewst? What are you up to now? What's exciting?
Uh, okay, so we've just started to sell the solution into brands. So
Hmm.
we see like uh, how the market is evolving. So for probably for a decade or maybe a couple of decades, it was it was a job for creative and media agencies. And these
Hmm.
days, brands want to bring this in-house. I mean, they want to control the quality and the scale, and they start building in-house teams to work on creatives. And I'm not talking about like something, huge like creative strategy, but I'm talking about like small things like execution, like
Hmm.
banners, and we see this trend has just started to evolve, and we are following the trend. So we've just started to sell into brands, and we have just signed up our first French customer, actually,
Nice.
big company. Yeah, and we are all very excited about this. And yeah, so I think this is a new stage for our startup, monetizing this B2B connections. And yeah, we are very excited.
That's good. That's great. Yeah. And um, I always lie about the last question in interviews. Sorry, I don't mean to, but as you were talking, you said you're now starting to work with brands directly. Um, who can use Viewst? Well, what is the type of company? Is there some size, for example, that's too small or too big, or type of industry or whatever?
Uh, we have actually, and since I'm currently based in France, because I moved from New York, we've done localization of our solution into French, so you can work
Okay,
in French in Viewst. And
nice.
yeah, just good thing to mention. And initially, our like early adopters were, I would say, small brands and solo marketers. So, for instance, we have like some agencies and resellers who are like, for instance, reseller of a coffee machine from Switzerland. So usually these
Hmm.
are small teams, and actually they don't have like a lot of resources to hire expensive agencies. And this is an ideal solution for them because Viewst is very
Hmm.
flexible, and it lets you to create really great pieces without even being like super professional in. So you might be a marketer, not like a specific designer, but a marketer, and you
Hmm.
can do everything at Viewst. One thing. Then we started to experience more like bigger brands. For instance, we are piloting with like Galeries Lafayette and some other really big brands who do have budget for like creative agencies and media agencies, but anyway, they control the process. They give the final approval to the creative,
Hmm.
and they actually set the campaign goals. So they want to see everything, and Viewst is ideal solution for such big brands who probably doesn't do anything in-house, but they control everything, they see everything
Hmm.
in real time, and they can communicate. And then with every participant of the campaign launch.
Hmm.
And also, agencies, they started to actually come into Viewst. But I would say our ideal uh, clients are mostly like media teams, not creative teams, but media teams,
Hmm.
because when a creative agency prepared the strategy and the idea and the assets, and then media teams actually invest their time and money into like buying traffic and
Hmm.
working the performance, and they see, okay, probably we need to change a background, we need to change a copy, or we need to create another variation. And this is a very simple task, but
Hmm.
uh, before Viewst, you had to go to creative
Mm.
team, them, wait for a couple of weeks because they're
Yeah.
overloaded, a lot of other tasks.
Oh
Now
yeah.
they can easily change it themselves and
Yeah.
get instant approval from like chief designer, for instance, like, okay, guys, it looks good, you can take this,
Mm.
and keep working on A/B testing on performance. So I would say that media teams are our ideal customers, but then they start to bring creative people as well.
Wow. So that's, yeah, I mean, it sounds so logical and useful what you're saying. I'm like, how did people live without that before?
I don't
Which
know.
is a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's probably how you can tell, a good idea from a not so great one, when you have that feeling of, because you mentioned Canva, for example, and when it first came along, I was like, yeah, okay, it can do some things, but I would still go to the designer or use Photoshop or use whatever. And now I'm like, I don't know what I would do without it. Like,
Yeah,
just
exactly.
us as a team, not just me personally. So because
Yes.
they have evolved as well to, that's the other thing, they were in a niche where they were needed, but they have developed and evolved as well around all of their users as they were coming. So that's important as well.
Yeah, that's true.
Great. All right, I think that's it. That's a wrap. It's been a pleasure. I'm not going to hold you up for much longer, and definitely if you're around, or I mean, if we come to Paris, probably in October, actually we're planning, I'll definitely ping you, and yeah, I
Yeah,
think we'll have something to
that
talk
would be
about.
great to meet you in person. Yeah, and thanks a lot. It was a pleasure meeting you today. So
Sure, you too. It was very interesting. Thank you. Yeah,
yeah,
I'll prepare the interview, send it for you to review. It might take some time, just because
sure,
it takes time, but we won't publish it. We won't share it without your approval.
sure. No worries. Take your time.
Good.
Have a good one.
You too. Bye.
Bye bye.